Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is the 8 books I read in July. August, not July. That's how fast this year has gone in for me. I had a decent reading month in July. My goal in my... I just did it again. I just had a decent reading month in August. And in my August TBR, I made it a goal to read 8 books, and I thought I wasn't going to do it for a while, but last night I actually finished my 8th book, so I'm pretty happy about that. I got all 8 done. It wasn't exactly the 8 that I had intended to read in my TBR, but I did read a few off of my TBR. But the important thing is I got my TBR down by 9 books actually, because I DNF'd and I'm going to unhaul the one I DNF'd. So yeah, 9 books down. I may as well start with the book that I DNF'd, and that is Our Infinite Fates. This is a YA fantasy book, and it is about these two characters who they basically reincarnate every time they die and live lots of different lifetimes across centuries. And the main character, I think her name's Evelyn, she basically gets killed by this guy called Arden in every lifetime before she turns 18. And in her current day lifetime, her sister's survival is dependent on Evelyn staying alive. So this time she wants to break the curse and stop Arden from killing her. And I just felt like this book was going to be a very average 2.5 stars. It didn't feel unique at all. It felt like a lot of YA books that I read before. This is why I do love YA as a genre still, and I think a lot can be done in it. And I will still keep reading YA books, but this one just reminded me of why it's not my go-to genre anymore, because it's starting to feel like a lot of the same things are just being published again and again in the genre. And yeah, this one just wasn't for me. I'm probably going to sell this edition because it is the Waterstones exclusive. So the first 2 books I actually read and completed were books 2 and 3 in the Little Thief series, which is The Painted Devils and Holy Terrors. And the Little Thief series is a YA fantasy trilogy, and these actually remind me of why I like YA. These feel a lot more unique and special and entertaining. And yeah, this series follows a thief called Vanya, and she steals jewels from the rich and wealthy, but on top of jewels, she has also stolen one of the princess's identities. And the love interest, Emmerich, is basically the detective on her case. And it's just such a fun series. That's one word I would use to describe it. It's just so goofy at times. The characters are both so lovable but also unlikable. They have a lot of flaws and stuff, which I really like. They just feel so real, and I love the main relationship in this series between Vanya and Emmerich. And I just love this author's writing as well. It's so quirky and funny, and yeah, I just love this series so much. The first book was definitely my favourite, but I also did enjoy books 2 and 3 as well. I think the second one's my least favourite, but overall the series I would probably give 4 stars. Another book I absolutely loved was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, and I love V.E. Schwab. She's one of my favourite authors of all time. And I was a bit skeptical about this because I've seen mixed reviews. A lot of people say it's quite slow, and it definitely is. It's over 500 pages and it's a very character driven book, but I listened to an audiobook while I was doing a jigsaw puzzle, and that definitely helped for the slower bits because I guess I was being entertained by the jigsaw as well, so it kind of distracted me for the more slower bits. And if I was reading physically, maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much, but I still really liked it because I really love the 3 main characters. This follows 3 women from 3 different timelines. One is in the 15th century and her name's Maria, and she's just been married off to a man who she is not in love with. And then Charlotte is in the 18th century and she is attending like the court with her aunt for the first time in London. And the other girl is Alice, and she is in modern day. I think it's 2019, and she's just moved to Harvard to study there. And all 3 of them are vampires, or they get turned into vampires. And all 3 storylines also interconnect and join together. And I really enjoyed that, seeing how they all link together, because at the start they're very much separate. But yeah, I really liked the characters in this. Some of them were quite toxic, but I just really enjoyed this overall. I love V.E. Schwab's writing. And actually, as I was reading this, I stupidly went in my head, like, oh, this reminds me of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And then I realised, of course it does, it's the same author. I kind of forgot for a second it was V.E. Schwab that wrote that. But yeah, if you've read her books before and you loved Addie LaRue, definitely give this a go because it's very similar pacing wise. I also read the Raven Boys graphic novel, which was one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and I have mixed feelings on this one, to be honest. I overall enjoyed it. If you don't know what this series is about, it's a 4-book series, but it's not a graphic novel. This is a special release that they just did. I think the original book was published in 2012. And yeah, this is just the graphic novel version of the first book in the series. And it follows a girl who is from a family of psychics, and her whole life she's been told by every psychic she meets that if she kisses her true love, then he'll die. So she kind of just avoids boys in general. And then she gets caught up with this group of boys who are from this posh private school in her town, and they're on a hunt to find a dead Welsh king, and she gets wrapped in it. And it's one of my favourite series of all time, if not, I think, my second favourite series. So I had a lot of high hopes for this, and it kind of didn't meet them, but also at the same time, I think it would have been impossible to meet them. I just feel like what I love about the original series is it can't be recaptured in graphic novel format. A huge part of it is the characters' inner dialogue and monologue, and also just the author's writing, which isn't here. They basically just copied and pasted everything the characters say in this and then put it to like images. And I did really love the art style. It was really pretty, and also the characters for the most part were drawn kind of how I pictured them in my head, but I just didn't have the feeling and the vibe and the magic of the original series. I also read Immortal by Sue Lin Tan, and this is an adult romantasy standalone. I think it's a standalone. And I gave this 3 stars. This was slightly disappointing to me. It's similar feeling to Our Infinite Fates, where I just feel like I'd read it before. It didn't feel like anything new. It follows the main character who's an empress, and she's just recently taken to the throne because her granddad actually just died as a result of the actions of the immortal gods of this world. And even though she's empress, just because she's mortal, to the immortals, she's basically nothing. Even though she is an empress, to them, she's worthless. And she teams up with the god of war or she forms an alliance with him to basically tear down the whole system. She wants to free her people from the reign of these immortals and basically get her revenge. And I just thought this book was okay. The romance felt like every other romance I read before. The love interest wasn't anything special, or the main character, but it was well written and I was kind of entertained by it, so I did give it a 3 overall. I think if I wasn't listening to it on audiobook, I would have maybe DNF'd it. Also read The Geographer's Map to Romance, which is the sequel to The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I get those titles mixed up, and I gave this 3 stars as well. I really love this author's writing, but some part of this book, and also the first book in the series, I don't know what it was, but just the plot wasn't that entertaining to me, so that's why I give it a 3. This follows 2 geographers who are actually married. It's like the marriage of convenience trope, but it's kind of a bit different because they're already married for a year at the start of the book, and the main character, Elodie is her name, I had to double check that. She basically married this guy to get advancements in her career, and they have to come together again because they need to go to Wales and survey the ground in this town there where magic has erupted from. And I was invested in the romance and the characters in this, but the actual plot, like the geography stuff, I wasn't interested at all. And I felt that way about the first book in the series as well. She has another trilogy where the main characters are like pirates in one book and then witches in another, and then spies in the third book. I found that way more entertaining. Plus, the romance was good. And yeah, I think I gave some of those books 4 and 5 stars, whereas this one, it was only the romance that kept me going. So yeah, 3 stars for this one. I also read The Hacienda. This is a horror book, and it's also a standalone, and it follows the main character, Beatrice, who marries this random guy to escape her life with her uncle and his wife, where she's not treated very well. So basically, out of desperation, she marries this guy, even though there's rumours about what happened to his first wife. And she basically goes and stays on his estate, and she instantly gets a kind of creepy vibe from it. There's also other people living there. There's like a maid and the new husband's younger sister, and they're kind of not very welcoming to her, and they're not really explaining some of the things that she's experiencing. Like, she's having nightmares, she's hearing things, her trunk of silks is randomly covered in blood all of a sudden, and it seems like they know more than they're letting on. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I do feel like it was a little bit predictable. I made a reading vlog recently about it. I made a prediction that it was going to be kind of similar to Rebecca, and it definitely was. The fact I could predict where it was going to go is a little disappointing, especially for a horror book. I kind of want to be kept on my toes, but overall, I really enjoyed the writing and I liked the main character. And there's also a surprising romance plotline in this that I also enjoyed. And finally, another book I read was The Starving Saints, which is also a horror book. This one's historical and gothic as well. I was really in a horror mood in August. This follows this castle that's under siege. There's this army that's surrounded it, and everyone is trapped inside, and it's very claustrophobic. They don't have any room, and they also ran out of water and food. And the main character, Focine, she performs this miracle where she turns the dirty water that's getting everyone sick into clean drinking water, and the king basically forces her to try and do it again, where she is going to try and turn nothing into food. And she doesn't think she's going to be able to do it because she doesn't even know how she did the water miracle in the first place. And then one day, randomly, this saint called Constant Lady that everyone worships suddenly appears in the castle, and they have no clue how she got in because the whole castle's locked off and the gates haven't been opened. And she comes with this infinite supply of food for everyone to eat. And some of the characters are a little bit suspicious of her and question if she's actually even the saint or the real version of the saint. And this book felt like a fever dream. It was way more confusing in the second half than it was in the first half. And I think if the first half was more the whole story, like it didn't get as confusing as it did, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. And also, I feel like it could have leaned a bit more into the horror elements. There were some descriptions of like gory things and how oppressive the castle felt because it was so packed full of people. And I feel like it could have leaned more into that as well. And just, yeah, leaned more into the horror. I just wanted a bit more from it, and also for it to be slightly less confusing. But overall, I did really enjoy it. And I gave it 4 stars, and I want to read more books by this author. But yeah, that is the 8 books I read in August, and also the 1 book that I DNF'd. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you want to read them, and how many books did you read in August. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.